Howdy tubers, welcome back to the Zach Live. So behind me here is a project that a few of y'all might recognize. There's probably a lot of you that don't. And for those of you that recognize it, it probably looks a whole lot different today than it did the last time you saw it. So when I started this build, it's been close to 2 years ago. I don't know exactly when. I did about 3 or 4 videos, and I should have went back and looked. I don't remember exactly how many. If you go to my page on my channel, there's a tab you can click on called playlist, and there's a playlist in there that you can actually go watch the first, second, and third or fourth or however many there were videos about this trailer. I work pretty hard to keep that reasonably organized because I know my channel covers a lot of different things, and some people might be interested in some aspects and not others, and I've kind of got it broke out there. You can watch what you enjoy watching and not what you don't. So about 6 months or so after these first videos, I did a 5th video, I believe, if I've got my numbers correct. And I've actually deleted that video. The reason being is there was, I sort of did a long introduction, a reintroduction, if you would, like I'm doing here. And I talked about some of the problems I'd had, and those have all sort of changed. There's been sort of a re-idea, redesign, we're going to talk about in just a second. But some of that footage that was on that video will actually be in this one coming up. So my idea behind this trailer was to make it sort of a do-all, haul-all, indivisible extension of the RV, if you would. Now, I realize it's a trailer. I mean, you can unhook it, but it would go anywhere with the RV that the RV goes. And my initial basic design idea was that I wanted a steerable trailer. My RV is built on a 359 heavy haul chassis, and if you don't know what that means, it means it takes 2 city blocks to make it U-turn or whatever. It does not get around a corner very good. And I wanted a trailer that had the option to be able to be steered, so that if you got in a bind, you could actually steer the trailer to jockey the motorhome around and get it out of a tight spot or whatever. I wanted it to be steerable. We've got a device up here in the front. If you watch the previous videos, you've seen it. You'll see it again probably in the next video when this is done. But it's got a device up here in the front that the rock crawler pins to that actually stands the rock crawler up straight on its nose, straight up and down. I wanted to be able to haul my Suburban. I've got a 3/4 ton 85 model Suburban. I wanted to be able to pull it up on here underneath the rock crawler. The front tires come to about right here. And I wanted to build a device, a cradle, if you would, down in here that I could actually carry a golf cart. And I started a golf cart restoration. It's sitting right there, and it needs to be finished. Another aspect that I wanted, I don't know if the back of the trailer here is in frame, but I wanted a trailer that was air ride, and I wanted it to have enough air ride suspension, enough stroke, if you would, that the back of the trailer, when you relieve the air from the bags, would sit flat down on the ground, so you didn't have to handle any ramps. When you get to the RV park and you want to unload the Suburban or your car or whatever you're pulling, you simply pop the straps loose, let the air out, and you just drive it straight off the back. An additional thing that I wanted is I wanted the trailer to be powered. And we're going to talk about that. That's sort of close to being finished at the end of this video. But I wanted not to drive it down the highway, but I wanted to be able to move the trailer. If you pulled into an RV park late at night, pull in there, shut the motorhome down, and go to sleep, the next morning you can actually back the trailer out under its own power to hook it onto the Suburban or whatever, or to move it to a little bit different parking lot across the road or whatever, without having to start the motorhome up and unhook the power and air it up and move it and all that jazz. I wanted the trailer to be able to move under its own power. And then lastly, one of my key aspects that I wanted to accomplish with this was that you got the rock crawler stood straight up on its nose with the Suburban behind it. You pull into your RV spot, unload the Suburban, lay the rock crawler back down. It can actually sit on this whole mechanism, and we'll go over this later, as I say, but it could actually just be set down. The tires sort of dangle right above the floor here. You could back the trailer out with the rock crawler still on it, hook it onto the Suburban, and then take the rock crawler wherever you wanted to go ride it on the trailer behind the Suburban. Okay, so getting back to the problems that caused me to sort of lose interest in it or be mad at it or whatever. In its initial design, with the rock crawler stood up on the front, the Suburban here and a golf cart on the back. This all hinged on, or was required to have the axle absolutely as far forward as I could get away with. I also wanted the axle relatively far forward because I didn't want a lot of tongue weight. And you got to remember, this is not a camper trailer that's behind a half-ton pickup. There's plenty of weight pulling it. You know, as far as it pulling poorly, it was not a problem. But I had to have the axle as far forward as I could get away with. And ultimately, I made an error in its placement. I had tried to put it where I thought there would be around 5% tongue weight, and it actually came to be that it was just about a net zero. There was about zero tongue weight. I don't want a lot of tongue weight on this trailer, but you can't have a negative tongue weight. That's not an option. So the first thing I had to do was move the axle back, and I moved it back, I think about 6 inches. It's been a year ago since I did that. And I also changed up the geometry of the air suspension. Previously, the way the air suspension was laid out had a very unfavorable geometry on the airbags, but it was my only option to be able to get everything as far forward as possible to be able to get the golf cart in here. So one of the things that made me okay with ditching the golf cart idea was I didn't realize, but in the state of Colorado, where we typically will go, you can't drive a golf cart down the street, and I had expected that to be the reason to take it. Or New Mexico, you go somewhere like Red River, you know, you can drive your golf cart up and down the street, and that's just not something you can do. If you can't drive it down the street, I've got absolutely no use to take it. What I do have, and they're not here, they're at a friend of mine's shop, is we have got a set of, I don't know what your model they are, but they look identical. They're both orange Trail 90s. And there will be room to build a cradle to hold these Trail 90s in the back of this trailer, effectively under the Suburban. You know, the handlebars will come up to about right here or something like that. There'll be enough room to drive over it, and we can take a Trail 90s, and you can ride those down the street. Another sort of change is not really design change, it's sort of a usability change, or that might not be the right word. But I had planned on, you know, the rock crawler is not a vehicle you can drive 20 or 30 miles down the road. It's hydraulic steering. You know, trying to drive at 55 is like trying to drive a forklift 55. It's just, you know, it's not feasible. But you can drive a few miles, especially low speed or something down a blacktop. It is tagged and insured. So my original thought process behind this, as I stated, was that when you got to where you were going, you could unload the Suburban, lay the rock crawler down, and then pull this with the rock crawler on it wherever you wanted to go. And I wanted to have that option in case the rock crawler broke down, so that you could load it up and bring the rock crawler back to wherever, you know, to wherever you were camped or whatever, sort of use it as a fetch vehicle. And it dawned on me that I'm not really ever going to go very far. You know, you could drive the rock crawler 6 or 8 or 10 miles even if you wanted to trailhead. If you get up on top of a mountain and the rock crawler quits, this isn't going to the top of the mountain to retrieve it. The Suburban's not going to the top of the mountain. Now the Trail 90 could, you know, you could haul parts up there or whatnot. And if you got the crawler back down to a low elevation to a blacktop, and it did blow, you know, say the motor blew up, you could actually just take the RV and this trailer and go get the rock crawler. You know, you don't need the Suburban really to pull it. I think that in my mind, I've sort of lost that need to be able to pull this trailer around with a Suburban with a rock crawler on it. So I know this introduction or reintroduction has been extremely long, but for those of you that are interested in this aspect of my channel, I didn't want to leave anybody in the dark. I wanted, you know, for the people that have come around, sort of the new subscribers in the last year or so, I wanted y'all to know what's going on. You can go back, go click on the playlist. You can go watch the previous videos if you'd like to see this come up to the point you're fixing to watch here in a few minutes. I know a lot of my subscribers like the oil field videos. I've got a bunch of those coming up along with the skating stuff, but I want to get this trailer finished, the RV completely done. I've already talked about the RV videos and sort of what's coming up, and I've just been so busy I hadn't had time to work on them. But it is actually raining right now. It's supposed to rain a couple of days, and that gives me an opportunity to quit working and go work on that kind of stuff. All right, I'm done rattling. Some of the footage coming up is going to be repeat footage. Some of y'all may have seen some of it. But I'm going to sort of get it done. We're going to take all the footage I've got. We're going to come back to real time later on tonight. And I want to walk you through and kind of show you what's been done that I don't have footage of. And we're going to be all caught up. And then there should be another video or two in a few weeks to continue to finish this thing. All right, so I got my little steering lock thing unscrewed from this heim joint. I've got to pull the bolts out that hold this axle on. I was going to show I bought this 3/4 inch Milwaukee impact, and this thing is absolutely a beast. I got some good Chinese M sockets here, and I'm gonna buzz these out. Okay, so I got to figure out how much to extend these. They are currently 29.5. Obviously we're going to go back 6 inches, and then what I'm thinking I'm going to do is bring this tubing back just past here and then weld onto a piece of tubing that goes sideways across from here to there, and then put the bag sort of in this vicinity right here, or it's going to be 6 inches back. Anyway, so I'm thinking 29.5 plus 16 is where's my chalk? I guess the first thing I need to do is get a torch and cut these plates off here. Alright, I've got to get this on here pretty dang straight because if it's up or down a little bit, it's going to cause the trailer not to set level, because these two pieces are what levels the trailer. And if it's in or out a little bit, the bolt holes won't fit, because it's pretty well, the bolt's pretty well set flush. I'll have to get a porta pire and spread it or something. That being said, I think I'm just going to hold it up here and try to tack it. I got this machine turned way up. I ought to put a pretty good tack out here. Well, I better go turn the gas on, dang it. Alright, that sounded a little bit better. So I went ahead and welded these out with 18. It just gives me a little more peace of mind. I'm gonna go ahead and brush these off. Nothing to be too proud of there. I got to get under it and grind the weld on the bottom flat. It's a pretty fat, big, wide bead, because the axle is going to sit right, I think, right about the middle of that weld. I'm not sure if that's where it needed to go, but that's where it's going to be. Okay, so I 45 both of these tubing, big piece of tubing, and then got a piece of 4-inch square tubing, and I've welded it over here. It's still tacked over here. But my idea is I'm going to cut out a round, I already have actually. I'm going to cut out a round circle, a 1/2-inch plate that'll weld right here, and the airbags is going to sit right out here. And then I'm going to have to probably come in a little bit on this frame, but I'm going to take another piece of strap. Basically, it's going to sort of be right about here. I'll have to have a gusset or something that comes down and a spacer here. But anyway, the airbag is going to go right here. I 45 these. I put a weld right here. When I torch this, I torch down into this and I cut into this here. I ground it out and weld it with 7018. I know this really looks terrible. I kind of feel like I've forgotten how to weld or something. This looks, I don't know what's up with this project. It seems like everything I weld on it looks terrible. Another day, another dollar. So I had to cut a little piece out here, I think, to make this bolt on the bottom here clear. Now, this kind of per my guess, I'm thinking I've got it jacked up. This is the back of the trailer sitting on the center block, but I'm thinking that I need about 2 inches of space here, so that when the trailer's all the way down, it will have bottom the bag out. And so I'm gonna take some heavy wall 2-inch square tubing, just lay a piece in here and tack it, and then we can air this thing up and work the geometry and make sure everything looks kosher. Looks good. I'm going to run back there and kick the center block out from underneath it if I can pull this off. Yeah, this looks infinitely better. All right, so I got this done. Let me show you what I got here. This came out pretty good. I'm really pleased with it. Of course, I got the other one done. I welded a 1/4-inch steel T right here. And the existing line just lined up perfectly. This all laid up pretty well. Of course, I got the other line coming over here. I had originally wanted to steer this thing pneumatically with a big air cylinder. I've decided against that. I have actually got a hydraulic drag link that should bolt on here. Should be really easy to mount. And I think this will be easy to mount, and it'll be easy to control the axle. I think it'll have a little bit more controllability. As far as instead of just having to go lock to lock, you can sort of go a little ways or whatever. Okay, so the previous segment that you just watched happened like 8 or 9 months ago or something. There's a few things changed. I spent the last 2 days, we got some rain, I didn't have anything else to do, working on this, and I started a bunch of the plumbing. I got a lot of the plumbing done. These are the two glad hands where the air from the truck will hook up, emergency and service. These are a little bit different because they got valves on them. You can actually shut the valve. I'll explain what I'm going to do with all this later. I don't want to get lost in the plumbing right now, but it's pretty much finished as far as the air goes. Needs kind of tidied up, but there's a few things. But I got the air compressor plumbed in. I got this little manifold here. This goes to the air tank. I've got a set of valves and control. We'll have, if I pull this with a Suburban, we can use this to keep the air up. So I've got this hydraulic drag link is sort of bolted up. This is what it'll look like. It bolts to these 2 bolts. This thing may need to be repacked. It didn't leak, but it's pretty greasy, but it'll be easy to pull it back off and go over it later. I had to extend, this is the part that goes in the lock. I'm gonna fix to put this together. I had to extend this. This is a extra heavy wall nipple. It's got threads here, but this was about a 1/4 inch wall thickness. There's plenty of meat. I turned a big step down here and filled up with a weld. It goes in. I'm fixing to put it in. We got to put the air biscuit on here that works for the latch. All right, I'm gonna put this steering lock thing in here. So here is my my hydraulic pump. This thing has got some kind of a weird communist Japanese Katamakushi pipe thread in it. If we don't have that here, we're going to make this 1/4 of a Freedom Unit pipe thread. So I think this is going to be my layout here. The hydraulic pump's going to go right here. I think I'm actually just going to take the wire welder and weld this tank down. That'll be a good way to mount it. So I've got this hydraulic valve here, and what this is like a diverter valve. And so the 2 lines off this hydraulic pump thing are going to come in here, and the fluid just goes straight through and comes out these. And these 2 are going to be the lines that go to the steering box. I'm thinking about, I don't know if I want to do it, but I may rig up some kind of a hydraulic jack, and that's what a set of these are for. And then the other set is for, I'm going to make this whole mechanism here work hydraulically. And so basically you just apply power to here or to here, and then it makes this system here, this pump, you know, work whichever one. So as far as what I'm fixing to do, I got a roll of hydraulic hose here, and I need to lay out all my hydraulic hoses. There's going to be several that run back here, and they need to be exactly the right length. I'm fixing to work on that. I'm not going to video it because it'd just be boring, but I'm going to spend probably the rest of this evening trying to get my hydraulic lines laid out. So another thing I got to do here is where the air lines attached for the brakes and for the emergency brakes. This was kind of temporary. They make this rubber hose here. This is what's by regulation is supposed to go from the brake chamber to the frame. It's real flexible and everything. I got to rig this up, and so these ends go in like this, and I'm probably going to shorten these back to about right here, and then weld some collars. I got 8 of these connectors. Weld some collars in the frame, and then that hose will just sort of make a S, so that when you steer, it will you know, have some movement. Okay, so I got my little rubber hose deal done. Let me show you the other side. In fact, we'll just jump in here. So I got a couple of 8L clamps there, and just welded a couple of 1/4 inch bolts down. I'm gonna put nuts on them, hold all that straight, and then I got my collars welded on there and the little rubber hoses, and that'll allow the axle to move. You got to remember that this is unusual in that this is what goes up and down with the axle. There's not going to actually be any movement there with the rubber hose during normal driving. It'll just be turning. Somehow I got to fix this, and I'm not sure. I think I want to take some cardboard and try to trace the pattern out. The big issue is that I've got a brace right here, and when I cut this out, this brace is going to be partially exposed, and of course I don't want that. I've got to build, I'll even see what we're looking at here. I've got to build a fender to come over and clear this tire. I'm thinking just about, don't need a lot, maybe about 5 inches wide. I think I may, instead of make this round, square it off, and I'll be able to bring this metal on out here and then go down, and I'll just have a little slot here to cover, and then I can take my plasma cutter. It's rained a lot, and my welding trailer and torch is down there in a mud hole, and the only thing I've got up here to use is my plasma cutter, which I'm really not a fan of, but whatever. I got this piece here that we cut out from here, and I believe it will just make it. I looked over here and you're upside down. I'm not sure when that happened. So I run out of camera, my battery's dead, they're all charging. I was in there looking at that last clip, kind of editing. I just walked in the house and dumped that SD card on my computer. I don't know what was up with that last clip. The camera was all skitzing out. But I got these done. The one you saw was over there. I come over here and got this one finished. I'm not a real big fan of these. They just sort of look like they're stuck on there. They don't look like they belong. But it's what I built and it's what's gonna stay. They look okay, I guess. Nothing special. They're just 14 gauge, but having this piece in here, they're pretty stout. I don't know that you could drive a car over them, but you could definitely, a couple people jump on them. I think they'll do their service. All right, so that's basically all the footage I've got. I've got to bring you up to date. I had another problem. I'm not going to go over this. We're going to talk about it later. But with the steering system, the problem I'm having is if you leave a bind on the hydraulic cylinder with the axle lock, I showed making the axle lock up there. It tends to sort of twist everything, so it throws the alignment out, and I got kind of mad at that. That was when I sort of got the hydraulics finished, and I did have some footage recorded on this camera, and I think it got deleted. That was back in June. I don't remember exactly where we were at, but I need to bring you up to real time. This thing is pretty much mechanically done. I've spent all of today going over it, sort of welding things that needed some more weld on them, or sort of grinding. There was a few places needs the paint touched up. But I think about the only thing that's happened since the last part of this video is I put these 2 hydraulic cylinders on. They just go here. They're what actuate the rock crawler thing here. Ran a bunch of hydraulic lines, mounted I think I probably showed in the last video, mounting the hydraulic drag link. And then I have sort of done all the plumbing in here. I'm not going to go over how all this works. This video is already too long. I'm going to try to finish this short and sweet as I can. And then I wish I would have done some videos about this, but I basically bought a winch. It's like a 12,000 pound or something winch off of Amazon, and I took the spool out of the middle of it and basically welded a golf cart tire, or put a hub where a golf cart tire bolts onto it, and put it back together. It's just a factory, no modifications winch with a tire on it instead of a winch spool. Now, as I said, I'm gonna go over in detail what all this is, but I would like to show it work because it's kind of cool. I got a remote control. The system that steers it will be hardwired through an additional plug. It's like a trailer light plug, but it's only 4 conductors instead of 7 for the, to steer this thing with the RV. But I've also got a remote control where I can steer this thing with a remote, or you can drive it. And then we've got the winch thing. I can hold this button down. Let's see. Trying to do this with one hand. I can use that like a trailer jack. You can effectively lay the whole trailer flat on the ground. And then I can control the rock crawler thing. And then I've also got brakes. You gotta have brakes. In all reality, if you are driving this thing, you start down a hill, the brakes might be really important. What else am I missing? I pulled a few wires, ran the lights. It's not quite done. I gotta do some junction boxing and wire some stuff up, but I got the lights pretty much on it. I got the shocks mounted. The next video is going to have something to do with this. I'm trying to build a little homemade plasma table, and that's what the next video as far as this kind of stuff is going to be. I think that's about it. And like I said, I'm gonna go over how all this stuff works in the next video about this, but it's really close. It's it's mechanically pretty much done. There's more things to do. I would like to add a smoker over here. I'll talk about that later. And I got to put a spare tire on it, and I've got some bling. I got some bling for it over here, and to the tune of some $800 wheels. Got to have some aluminum wheels and the spare too. So these tires on this are shorter than the ones on the front of the RV, but they take the same wheel, and they're the same width, and they're the same. They hold the same amount of weight. They're just about, I've forgotten, 36-inch tall instead of 39 or something. Anyway, if I had a blowout or something on the front of the truck or ruined a tire, I could take the spare. This is going to be the spare, and actually put it on the front of the RV to go where we need to go. It just might run down the road a little bit crooked. Can y'all think of anything else? Because I think that's about the size of it. Alright, so I'm shutting this thing down. I'm done with it. I appreciate you watching. Kind of brought y'all all up to steam. I'm going to get on this thing and have it done. I hope in real time. This video, I'm going to have it out. This is just like a few days before y'all see it. Real time, I'm hoping in a month or less, I'm going to have this thing completely finished and tagged and everything. Appreciate you watching. Like, share, subscribe, and all the good things. And we'll catch you on the next one.